Touching hearts and strengthening lives since 1904, Bethesda Lutheran Homes and Services Incorporated provides supports, resources, and worldwide outreach to people with developmental disabilities.
For most of us, communication is something we take for granted. We don't even think about it, we just do it. But for some people, communication is not that easy. In fact, verbal communication may not even be possible. As a direct support person, you may be serving people who don't use verbal communication. Does that mean they can't communicate? Certainly not. What it does mean is that they communicate in some other way. One way that some people communicate is with behavior. Imagine for a minute how you would respond if you were hungry or thirsty but couldn't tell someone about your need. Would you use behavior to communicate it? Maybe you would cry or hit someone. For some people, this barrier to communication may be helped with tools or devices to assist with communication.
Should we go to day services after we're done here?
Yes.
All right, then we can do that.
The tools available to a person may depend upon the ability of the person. For example, if someone can't read, they may be limited to pictures to communicate, because writing or typing words into a communication system wouldn't be possible. Before we go any further, let me clarify what I mean when I use the term nonverbal. When using this term, I'm talking about people who do not use spoken words to communicate and who have no easy or rapid form of communication. This does not mean that the person doesn't communicate. In fact, part of your job is knowing how the people you support communicate and then encouraging them to use their skills. When you're communicating with a person who is nonverbal, you may have a tendency to interact differently than you would with someone who verbally communicates. Here are some common communication errors you should avoid.
Hey, Art.
One error we make is speaking in a louder tone of voice.
Everyone is going outside onto the deck. It's a beautiful day outside.
Just because someone is unable to verbally respond to you doesn't mean they have difficulty hearing. Talking louder will not produce a response. In fact, by talking louder, you may startle the person and make them less likely to attempt to communicate with you.
Mary, please go get your sweater.
Another way we attempt to produce a response is by talking slower. In some cases, this may actually have merit. If, for example, the person you are speaking with needs time to think in order to process and comprehend what you are saying, slowing down may help. However, for most people, slowing down your speech will not enhance communication. Slower speech actually may make comprehension more difficult, as you tend to lose the flow and inflection of the words. It can also distort your facial expressions, which is an important part of the communication process.
You look so cute today. That outfit is adorable.
For most of you, the people you support are adults. The way you speak to the person should reflect this. You shouldn't talk to adults like they are small children. This is disrespectful and does not enhance communication. Sometimes it's easy to assume that because a person doesn't communicate verbally, they also don't understand verbal communication. This is simply not true. There may be many reasons a person doesn't use verbal communication. Maybe they have physical limitations that prevent them from speaking, but they understand what they are hearing. Even if the person doesn't understand your verbal communication, you are displaying respect for the person when you talk with them. They also may understand some general ideas from you. For example, do you sound angry or relaxed? Don't forget that the tone of your words is also communication. Now let's observe how the tone of a person's voice can significantly change the meaning of what is said.
You did a great job on that project. You did a great job on that project.
Sometimes people may choose not to speak with someone who is nonverbal because they worry about what other people will think if they observe them interacting with someone who is not responding. Remember, the people you support need to be the focus of every decision and action that you take. When you choose not to communicate because of what someone else may think, you haven't placed the person you support at the center of your decision. Instead, you and your feelings have become more important.
Melissa, you just got back from Special Olympics. What do you do at Special Olympics? The softball throw? What's your other competition? The 100-meter walk? How'd you do in the 100-meter walk? You got first place, didn't you? Was it fun? All right, well, I bet you're hungry. Oh, you're tired, too. Well, do you want to eat something first before you go to bed? What do you want to eat? Oh, you want something to drink?
When communicating with someone who is nonverbal, there are some assumptions you should always make about the interaction. First, always assume the person can understand what you are saying. Like I said earlier, lack of response may be due to many factors. It doesn't mean that the person doesn't understand. When you are assisting someone with a task, your words can help to alleviate resistance and fear. If someone doesn't know what is happening, they are more likely to respond in a negative manner than if they understand what is happening and why. It's also important that you always assume that the people you support want to be treated with the same dignity and respect that you or anyone else would expect. Your communication, or lack of communication, demonstrates how you respect the people you support. When you fail to act based on these two assumptions, that people do understand and that they want to be treated with dignity and respect, you risk several things happening. First, it has a tendency to dehumanize people. In other words, it shows that you view the people you support as less valuable than anyone else, and it doesn't acknowledge that they have the same feelings as everyone else. When dehumanizing of people occurs, it puts them at much greater risk for abuse and neglect. Second, a lack of good interactions can also affect learning. Communication is often teaching. Think about the conversation you may have with someone that you are assisting with a bath. Not only can you be teaching about how to bathe, you might also be talking about body parts or general hygiene. If you aren't communicating, this valuable learning may not happen. So you're probably asking yourself, communication is really important, but how do I do it well? Here are 6 strategies that may give you a place to begin. Begin by talking with people, not about them. When you're talking about someone, you might say this.
I know Lynn likes to go shopping. Let's just take her along.
Okay. When you are talking to someone, it would sound like this.
Lynn, some of us are going shopping for camp. Would you like to come along?
Just because Lynn likes to shop doesn't mean she would want to go on this particular occasion. Next, find out the likes and interests of the people you support. This information will give you some idea of what to talk about and where to begin a conversation. To find out this information, talk to the people who know the person the best. This may be family, friends, or other support staff. In some cases, you may find some of this information in the person's record.
And what about Jack? What are his interests? I know he works during the week. He gets home and he's tired. But then the weekend, what's he like to do?
Jack enjoys spending time with his family. Unfortunately, they live quite a ways away, so they only get up. They try to get up about once a month.
Okay.
So we really encourage that, and they just usually a lot of times just go out to eat or go to the park. He also really is active in his church.
Okay.
Yeah, he helps with handing out bulletins, and sometimes if the secretary will even call and ask him to help prepare the bulletin, so he does that. His main interests, though, are just around the house type stuff. He too enjoys the yard work, being outside in the summer. He also, though, when he has the opportunity in the weekend, loves to work around in the yard. He enjoys being outside. He enjoys, helping with the gardening or any of those type of things, even some, home repairs. In the summer, he enjoys being outside a lot.
A third way to build a conversation is to talk about things you would talk about with anyone else. Tell them about your family and activities. Talk about the weather. Discuss plans for the weekend or an upcoming event. Next time you're in a conversation, make a mental note of the topics that were discussed and then use these topics to build communication with the people you support. The fourth strategy is one we have already discussed. It's to assume people do hear and understand, even when they don't respond. This shows that you respect them. Next, include everyone in conversations. Often, when a group of people are involved in a discussion, if someone in the group is nonverbal, they get left out of the conversation. Watch this group of people as they endeavor to include everyone present in the conversation that is taking place.
Peter, how about green peppers?
You think not?
I'm not.
You don't want any green peppers? Okay, no green peppers.
How about some croutons for the salad, Peter? A little bit of bread on top?
Yeah, croutons?
Okay.
Did you notice how people used eye contact when speaking to Peter and how they addressed him by name? These are just two simple things you can do to bring someone into a discussion. The last strategy is to speak in gentle, pleasing tones. As we said earlier, your tone of voice is also communication. People are more open and receptive to words that are spoken in a gentle manner. Communication has many positive effects. Let's take a look at several of them. When you communicate with someone, they feel included in what is happening in their lives. It's not about what is being done to or for them, it's about what is being done with the person. It's important as support providers that we endeavor to find out what people want and then assist them to accomplish it. This helps them to be in charge of their life. Next, as communication occurs, people are encouraged and more willing to try new things. Your encouragement may be the key to unlocking new doors of experience for the people you support. Closely related to this is how people perceive their personal value. When a person sees that they matter to you and that their opinions, likes, and dislikes are followed, they are more likely to succeed and go on to other activities. People need to know that they matter to others. Communication also helps people feel valued. Everyone wants to know that others value them. This is the same for a person with communication barriers. Communicating with someone who is nonverbal may not be natural or easy for you now, but the more you do it, the more you'll see just how easy it can be. After you make an effort to communicate with people who are nonverbal and to understand the other words they use to communicate with you, you will begin to see the positive results that this can have in their lives. Before you realize it, communication with the people you serve will be a natural part of what you do.